Welcome everyone to episode 34 of the official podcast for Guardian 1, a Destiny group dedicated to the prosperity of Guardians everywhere. We broadcast live Thursdays at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 Eastern, right here on twitch.tv/Guardian 1 Network. My name is Remy, and tonight I am joined by River,
who is really excited for Daredevil this month,
Jez,
good morning,
Agrios,
greetings, Guardians,
and BelleBunny.
Totally here to take over again.
We are going to be talking about all things Destiny, but first, housekeeping.
Housekeeping. All right, everybody, thank you for listening in onto the podcast. However it is that you choose to listen, be sure to follow Guardian 1 on Twitter at G1net. That's G1NET. And just a reminder, the Twitter account is the only instance where we use the number 1. So again, that's G, the number 1, and ET. In addition, be sure to check out the Guardian 1 website at guardian1.net. You can also send us feedback to our email, feedback@guardian1.net. We also have a Bungie.net forums group that's currently at 138 members. So if you want to join, just search for the group name Guardian 1. Guardian 1 has its own clan, so if you want to join the Guardian 1 clan, just select the buttons that say set as PlayStation clan or set as Xbox clan, which I prefer. Just a big thank you to all those currently in the Twitch chat. As Remy said at the top of the podcast, you can watch the show live at twitch.tv/Guardian 1 Network. Broadcast every Thursday at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific. And if you can't catch the show live, you can always go to the Guardian 1 YouTube channel at youtube.com/Guardian 1 Network. Guardian 1 is a proud member of the Guardian Radio Network, so be sure to check out the Guardian Radio Network website at theguardiansofdestiny.com. There you'll find all the different podcasts as part of the network, including the flagship podcast, Guardian Radio. Broadcast every Monday night at 10:30 p.m. Eastern, 7:30 Pacific on twitch.tv/Guardian Radio. And also follow their Twitter account at Guardians of D and their YouTube channel, youtube.com/Guardian Radio. Other podcasts include Warlock School, the DoD podcast, which actually went under a recent name change, right? What are they, Aim Assist Gaming now?
Yes.
That's a pretty new thing. The TTL Party Chat, and Robust Radio. And if you don't want to read the grimoires, if you don't have enough time, you can always tune into the audio grimoire. Its title is Ghost and Echoes. Check those out.
I like it. Thank you very much, River.
Yup.
All right, so tons of stuff to talk about tonight, and very happy to have BelleBunny, returning champion, and full-time part-timer here on Guardian 1. So
Best title ever.
I like it.
So yeah, we got Jez, River, we got BelleBunny, we got Agrios, and we're all ready to talk about Destiny. Why don't we get right into it? Agrios, take it away.
All right. This week in the Bungie update, again, we talk about the upcoming 1.1.2. This week, they wanted to address the bugs with the raids and the strikes, as well as some players that weren't playing along too nicely. They start by reiterating that Destiny is never finished. They promise to keep updating it, polishing it, revising it, and pushing its boundaries until you pry it from their cold dead, you get the idea, to quote their commitment. For the raids, they bring in senior designer Gavin Irby to explain a little bit about the bug fixes. They start by saying that they recognize the Atheon and Crota boss encounters are challenging enough without the game getting in our way. They also bring in activities engineer Sean Chan to explain more. He explains that they're difficult because the raids have some of the most edge-casey content in the game, and he gives an example where the bug where the players weren't doing damage to Minotaurs with the Relic Shield. And after a lot of investigation, it turns out it's because of the long-legged shape of the body, and just some of the bugs are truly baffling and take them a while to hammer down. There's quite a few bugs to fix, and they only list this one example and say we'll have to wait to the patch notes for the rest. Anything for the raid bosses I'm excited about. You guys?
Yeah, it's what's really interesting about these raid bosses, and with the raids in general, is that there's a certain amount of there's a threshold at where if you have people who know what they're doing, you can go through some of these areas with 2 people. You can go some of these areas with 1 person if you know what you're doing. And what's the most frustrating is when you're in a group full of people and you still can't get past a section because of something like this. That's crazy to know. I'm curious. I'm curious if there was a way to do it, like maybe from behind. Like now that we know that it's the the long legs that were, I don't know, I guess pushing you away from the hitbox.
It's
Just
a jump and shoot.
Right, exactly, a jump and shoot. Like I wonder if this is a workaround, and I wonder how long it took them to figure this out, and if they could have told the community this earlier, maybe as a, I don't know, as a heads up. But yeah, I don't know. Where are we going with this, Bill?
I'm excited for fixes in general. I think that these are things, I know a lot of people are thinking they should come absolutely first, and I would agree, but obviously they take more time to fix these kind of things. Like they're saying, to make sure it also doesn't mess anything else up, potentially. So, but I'm really excited because I would like to have a chance at doing Flawless Raider and know that I am not wasting my time to get all the way through to get to the boss and then have him glitch out.
Man, that's a really good point. The wasting of time is probably the whole the bane of my existence with Destiny, because I really don't mind sinking in hundreds and hundreds of hours into a game. It's only when I'm faced with, here's 3 hours of time that I actually just wasted. I actually didn't get any further at all, and now I'm super frustrated. And this was one of the reasons why keeping a connection to Destiny was really important. Getting served some kind of, here's a hair, sorry you got booted to orbit, good luck with the Nightfall again. So yeah, what do you think about this, River?
Pretty much the same thing. Any fixes that they can bring out, I'm happy to accept.
Awesome. Jez?
Any changes that fix any type of issue is always welcome.
You know what I'm curious to know? I'm curious to know how many people are actually going to be running these. This goes back to whether or not they're keeping this content going into Destiny 2. Like, if they're making this fix now, what percentage of people are even going to go back and do it? And it's probably a large percentage of the people who have already done it a million times and have just worked around the glitches. They've just, through sheer will, have gone through these. Agrios, what do you think about these changes?
Like everyone else said, any positive changes to eliminate these kind of uncontrollable game-ending bugs are very, very important. I think about the stats that we saw from the PS4 trophies that we were talking about the other week, about how many people had ever, even equipped an exotic or raided. I mean, we're I don't know what the right word is. I don't say elitist, but we've done all that stuff time and time again. That's old hat to us. But there's plenty of people who have never even stepped foot in a raid yet. So I think there's probably more than our group here suspects that still have yet to tackle the Vault of Glass, and will hopefully have a better experience now because of this stuff. And then, like BelleBunny said, it's very demoralizing if you're trying to mount up a flawless raider attempt. I mean, that's one of the main reasons I haven't made a strong go at it yet, is just, you get depending on which raid you pick, take your game-ending glitch that you can have a perfect run and nobody can do anything wrong, and hidden oracle somewhere that doesn't, show it's invisible, kills everybody. The sword despawns 3 times in a row before you can hack Kurta with it, then there you go. So yeah, that's anything they can do for these particular aspects, especially when that trophy is involved, I think is just still very important for the game.
You know what I'm looking forward to are the throngs of players who call the people who beat these raids after this fix, or after they say that you haven't really earned it because you didn't go past the glitches. I'm looking for that.
We're gonna get
back in my day. I really earned my raid.
right. Back in my day, we couldn't even hit the Minotaurs. You had to have luck on your side. Yeah, this is This is awesome. And what was that, Jess?
I do know that they are very quickly running up on the issue of making old raids relevant. Like, people will still do them for, oh, there's a slight chance of an exotic, or just because, like, Vault of Glass is actually one of the funner raids. But Crota's End, people are going to drop that as soon as they can, I bet.
yeah.
I already have.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I won't miss it very much. I'll go back at some point and be like, hey, there's a weapon I still want, I guess, but I don't know. Yeah, I'd pick Vault of Glass over it any day right now, honestly. Despite the
unlocked
glitches
everything.
in that.
I've unlocked everything but the ship, and now the only reason I step foot in there is to help friends.
Yep.
Right, I'm looking forward to getting further into that idea, Agrios. Like I was saying earlier, there's ways that you can, if you're with a group of people who know what they're doing, the time goes by so fast. You know, sometimes it will be 20 minutes. You know, I've spent hours and hours trying to get past certain checkpoints, and with the right group of people, it will be like 20 minutes, and they will put me in like a worthless position. Like, well, just go stand over there and shoot at these other dudes that may or may not really matter. You know, we'll take care of this, and then it's done. And I'm glad I didn't interfere. But I'm looking forward to bringing that into Guardian 1. I would really like to be able to offer people this. Well, we're running people through. You know, I oftentimes see a lot of streamers running viewers through different raids or strikes or whatever. I think that's a really awesome thing to look forward to. And with these glitches being fixed, it, you know, even people who don't play these normally could be put into a position where they could help, because it's not, well, this is kind of glitchy, why don't you just let me do it? So this is awesome, and I look forward to this, and luckily I've only fallen prey to these kinds of glitches a couple of times, but that goes back to me not having as much time to play Destiny as I'd really like. So right on. Does anybody have anything else they would like to add to this?
Negative.
Alrighty then, moving on.
Moving on. Next, they dive into strikes, and they bring user research lead John Hobson to lead us off on some stats here. I'm going to go ahead and read his whole little submission here, because it has some really interesting numbers in it. The Cerberus Bay 3 strike is arguably the longest and hardest strike in the game. It has one of the lowest completion rates of any of the strikes. Even when players complete it successfully, it takes longer than almost any other strike activity at 27 minutes on normal difficulty. When it's appeared as the Nightfall, it's actually had the lowest completion rate of any strike activity in the game. The Dust Palace strike isn't quite as hard, but still takes longer to complete successfully than the average strike at 23 minutes on normal difficulty. They then bring in production engineer Brenton Woodrow to discuss their solution to this particular issue. It was their goal to ease the difficulty for the least completed strikes, and in order to do that, they focused on the final boss encounters. They reduced Valista Ark's health by a third and reduced the Scion Flayer's shields by about 15%. These changes, they felt, bring these encounters in line with the rest of the strikes. They note that these changes will arrive in a couple of weeks. I'm not sure how I feel about their solution to this particular problem, if in fact it really is a problem. What do you guys think?
Okay, I tell you what, those Scion Flare shields, reducing it by 15%, I don't think that's enough. Those Scion Flares are nuts. That whole strike leading up to that it's rough. And then to be dealt these 3 flares with those crazy shields, I think maybe a third. They should have brought it down like a third. And going back to that third with Valistark's health, that's excellent. I think that's excellent. Although at the same time, I feel like, you know, he's this giant cabal. He's like a fortress, a city himself. And I don't know. I don't know if it was really... I don't know. What do you think about this, River? Have you gone through this Valistark's Nightfall and then thought to yourself, this is just insane?
Well, yeah, because it's It's the Valis to Auric Nightfall. It really, to me, it is the most craziest Nightfall to be a Nightfall in my mind, and I'm welcoming these changes, not as a personal thing, because I like the challenge anyways. Freaking double his health, I'll take him down anyways. But as looking at it as far as how it would affect the community at large, I really think that I didn't even think about like lowering the difficulty to kind of make it go as fast as the other strikes. Kind of like
I wouldn't
with,
say health
yeah.
is difficulty.
Well, no, of course not. I mean, we didn't really want these bosses to be like a bullet sponge, but bullet sponges, that's pretty much what they are anyways. There's nothing really we can really do to kind of change that, in all honesty.
What are your thoughts on this, Jez?
Well, first I want to know what River's thoughts are on the flares. I mean, he must have came across them several times.
Oh yeah, man. Those guys. Those
with his
flares
Hawk
are
Moon.
freaking tough, man.
River's out there with his Hawk Moon.
But
Wait,
honestly,
do we not have flares on the freaking Valis Arc? Am I missing that?
No. It's the Scion flares in
The
He
Dust
didn't even
Palace.
get the joke.
Dust Palace.
No, I got the joke. I was actually going to ask Remy if he was talking about the Dust Palace earlier.
Yeah, well, they're talking about both of them.
Yeah.
Okay, I was just making
specifically-
sure that they weren't, just in the freaking dust storm.
Oh yeah.
Well, when they say the Scion Flayer shields, I think what they're referring to the bosses of the Dust Palace strike, and not the Flayers shields like the standard infantry Flayer shields.
Oh, okay. I don't know those guys.
Yeah.
To be honest, I've
Right.
never had any issue with their shields. Their shields go down really quick.
If you use the right element.
Well, yeah. You should be. That's
Well,
the
you
only
should be.
mechanic.
We're talking about the general populace.
Belle, you are being uncharacteristically quiet. Why don't we throw it to you? What are your thoughts on this?
I was waiting my turn. I was trying to be good this time.
You did a great job. You did a
No,
great job, and I thought you might be hurt. Like
I'm
someone call 911.
My heart, it can't handle it. No. But no, I would say I think these are very good changes, because you know how in a previous update they talked about how they'd noticed that people were quitting certain strikes more often than others, and I promise you these two are some of the top two every single time. I myself have quit the Valis Tark. I hate saying his name. I've quit that one so many times when I get it if I don't feel like doing it, because I'm like, I don't have half an hour to throw into something that shouldn't take me necessarily half an hour if the strikes normally don't.
Right.
And,
you know what? I want to bring that up right now. This strike activity at 27 minutes. That's crazy. This is crazy. That's charitable, and that's if you have
When you
people
can
on
do
your
a
team.
raid in less than that.
Right.
When groups do the raid quicker than a strike, there's something not quite right here.
Right.
And that's not even the Nightfall one, right? That's just
Right.
the normal one. Yeah.
Yeah, on normal.
Gosh.
Yeah, and so when I look at this, I don't, like River was saying earlier, like I agree with him when he says he doesn't mind the challenge, double his health, but at the same time, there should be a reward that's equal to that kind of, if the reward for these two strikes were better than the other ones, then I could understand, well, yeah, you're going to have to go up against this crazy bullet sponge, but look at what you get at the end.
Right.
Like
in a normal strike it is technically, because any gear you get is potentially going to be slightly higher level because you're in a higher level part of the story, But when you're doing Nightfall, no, you don't get any increase of this is going to be a better reward because you took 2 hours to fight him. Like,
right? 2 hours.
But the other thing for me is also I think both of these are, not to diss the maps, but they're both maps that I feel like you have to spend extra time, not only because of the health level of the bosses, but also because the way the map is built, you kind of either have to stand wide in the open and die, or you have to constantly spend a lot of time hiding to get your health back up or to avoid enemies, especially in Valis Tark. I mean, I know very few people who do that Nightfall without hiding behind the ramp. By the boxes, honestly. And I think this is going to help that a lot. You should be able to do a Nightfall without cheesing it, like without feeling like you have to. If you choose to, that's one thing. But if you feel like it is so unbelievably difficult that you can't do it without cheesing it, I think that does need to be balanced better, or they all need to be at that level. If they were all that crazy, yeah, I'd be on the same side as everybody, like, sure, double his health, make it super difficult, and then give me a reward that, goes with that. But if you've got ones where, you can sit there and do a Nightfall with the right burn in 10 minutes, and you can do one in 2 hours because it's on Mars, that's not okay with me.
Right? Okay, so I feel okay about hiding by the boxes because when I first started Destiny, I actually didn't look for any shortcuts or any secrets. I would just go in with the mindset of, well, I have to hide behind a pillar and then keep moving around the place. It was fun. But when I got to this Valastark, it was just insanely rough, because how are you supposed to put any kind of actual damage on this bad guy when you are constantly moving around because everything is going to instantly kill you? And to think that, okay, well, I could do this the normal way and take 2 hours to do it, or I could do it the cheesing way and hide behind some boxes and take half an hour to do it. If I'm going to get the same reward on either way, it's a lot harder for me to just to say to myself, I'm going to spend the next 2 hours to do this right, because
Right.
I don't know.
That's why I think this is a very welcomed change, because I think more people are going to be inclined to try it, quote unquote, the correct way. And I want to experience it that way. I want to go and do this Nightfall and go, hey, that's how it's supposed to work, instead of, I don't feel like spending forever dying over and over and over again to do this.
Yeah, definitely not. Definitely not. As a dad, I just don't have that time. Like, I would love to. I've talked about this before on the show, where there was, like Mortal Kombat, when it came out on the Super Nintendo, there was a way to get to play Pong if one person beat the other one like 250 times in a row. And we went looking for this. We just had time to blow. We just had time, all the time in the world. Oh, you want to play 250 games where I beat you at Mortal Kombat so we can play Pong? Are you crazy? Are you out of your mind? Like, this is... what the hell are we doing? But at the same time...
Velastark's strike is equal to Pong.
Right?
Totally makes sense in my head. They're the same
Pong.
thing.
Well, you know what it is? It's trying to play a 16-bit game in order to play a 4-bit game. Like that's what trying to do Valastark normally is like. Let's break it down. But yeah, this is all going to be awesome, and I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. I don't know. I don't know if lowering his health by a third is going to keep people from those boxes, but it will be interesting to see if the data shows up, if people start finishing it. Because I didn't really notice that people quit this, because I'm not on the back end. I'm not looking at all the data flow like Bungie is. But as soon as the weekly, what was it? Oh no, it wasn't the weekly. It was when you go into just a regular strike. It's been so long since I've done just a regular strike, I forgot that's how you can go into it with other people. But yeah, but yeah, when you're going through it on like rocks, people quit that one so often. It's so frustrating. Like okay, I'll take the half hour to do this one. Let's just do it, and then they drop. It's
purely a matter of time. Honestly, I think it is with both of these. It's just people don't want to take the time, and whether they should or shouldn't, that's. I guess it's not really the issue. If people don't want it, they're not going to do it, and that's a problem. So.
Yep. All right. So why don't we? If anyone have anything else to say about this?
I have something else I wanted to say about it.
Do it, and then we'll move on.
Okay, sounds good. I understand the need to make these strikes more accessible to some people. But I don't like the reduction of challenging in-game content. I already feel like, aside from talking about glitchy raids, there's not that much challenge in a lot of the in-game content once you've hit the max level. They took away my ability to solo or would do two-man the weekly at this point, and now they're making the challenge levels of these things less too. I don't really like the trend. I would love to see them maybe increase the rewards, like Belle said, maybe, and increase the difficulty of other raids to match them and make 2 separate playlists, and you can just play an easier playlist if that's too difficult for you.
Well, wouldn't that be kind of cool? Because, like I said, it's a later on in the story, and as you're playing the story, everything increases in difficulty. So shouldn't the strike and the rewards, even if it's on something like Nightfall, it'd be kind of interesting if it was this, hey, you get a little bit extra potentially for completing this, because technically it's a higher level strike. Because when you do it in the story level, it's technically supposed to be higher level than if you did, say, Sepkus,
But then you would run into the trend where people would quit all other strikes to run this one strike, because you get more.
Well, you can't. I'm talking about Nightfall only. Otherwise, I mean, technically, you are already getting. Like I said, it doesn't mean anything to those of us who are level 32 that we're getting slightly higher level blues and greens from this strike, because we can't really use them other than to break them down at this point. But for somebody who's, say a level 20 or lower running the strike, yeah, it means something to them still, So like it's, I don't know, but I think Nightfall is where this might, the rewards issue is more of a problem for me, I guess. But sorry, I didn't mean to cut you guys off.
No, I appreciate the response. I think this is also where it runs into another problem for me, and this isn't exclusive to Destiny. This is a trend in a lot of games that have like DLC that furthers the level of your character and whatnot. I would like to see, when you get to level 32, I would like there to be a playlist of strikes that's nearly too difficult to complete. And I want there to be endgame content at all points that I'm not going to be comfortable easily completing until the next DLC comes and they let me level up more. But I want to be able to play it now with my level 32 character and try it and spend 2 or 3 hours in a strike trying to beat my way through. That's what I really want.
There's no reason that it should be that the... Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I totally agree. There's no reason that the what's the highest level that you can play? What level is Rock Strikes at?
It's 28, yeah.
Okay, if the level cap is up to 32, and even people who don't have DLC can be a 31, I don't understand why the highest level strike is so much below the level.
Right.
I do think that would have been a really great content gap filler, would be to somehow find a way to increase that difficulty a little bit on all of them and add in another playlist. I agree.
So I think I know why that this is the case. And I've thought about this extensively. I think it has something to do with not being able to justify doing one or the other, because having it be at level 30, that's what the Nightfall is, right? The Nightfall is level 30. Well, if you had just a strike playlist that was level 30, people would be expecting much better rewards if it was the same level.
But it doesn't
as the
have
Nightfall.
the burns and stuff. It doesn't have those additional difficulty enhancers, so you would still get the better rewards from doing Nightfall, because you have to deal with that much more because of burns and everything, the modifiers. But then, think about it. Most people probably do their Nightfall and weekly right towards the beginning of the week. Unless you have 3 characters on 2 different consoles, what do you do the rest of the week? Wouldn't it be cool to be able to say, hey, I want to keep doing some level 30 strikes. Yeah, I'm not going to get as cool of stuff, but I also understand that it's a level 30 purely based on what level the enemies are at. There's no additional modifiers. But
I think looking at the strikes, like the level on them as the level of content, is probably a bad thing to do, just because everything it almost scales up to you. It's not as hard, but things can still kill you no matter what level they are. It's more of a barrier than it is a level of content.
Interesting.
If there was no strike, or if there was no burns, and you went into the weekly or the Nightfall, the only thing that Nightfall is doing that is harder is kicking you back to orbit.
Yeah, that's a good call.
I'm a little
Remember how difficult those Nightfalls are?
Strike playlist.
You remember how difficult those nightfalls are whenever there's no burn?
Right.
Yeah.
That sucks.
I actually
True.
prefer the ones that don't have burns. Yeah, they take a
Oh,
little
man.
bit longer, but I'm not stressing that one simple blast will take me out completely. I like the ones with no burns. I also
Don't
what's that?
Sorry. I was just don't they also still normally have some other modifier though? Like
Oh yeah,
there's either,
angry and epic and
right.
Well,
So I mean,
when
there
there's
still
no-
is somewhat of a difference. But,
When there's no burn, it's always like light switch and angry.
right. Of course.
So
Because those two are so good together.
something charging at you is you basically just want to get out of the way.
right anything
You're gonna
anything
die.
charging at you.
It's all so much better when you can't see it.
You know what? Also, this comes back to what the real issue with Destiny is, and it comes down to with the other people that you play with. There's been so many examples of where I will be playing on the Xbox and I'll think this is going to be impossible. How am I ever going to do this? Speaking specifically of Nightfalls, and then again on the PlayStation 4, and I head up with Agrios and Sharks, and then we just go through it like it wasn't ever a question of whether we were going to make it through. It's always just a question of when. And I think that going forward, it's insanely important for people to group up. But at that same time, what that requires is time that you can put in, time that you can say to another person, I'm going to be here at this time, are you going to be here at this time, and then getting it done, because it all of this revolves around playing with other people, this endgame content. I mean, I've soloed my fair share of Nightfalls, and I still do it on the Xbox. Usually with the Warlock and the Hunter only, because the Titan's awesome, but the Titan is really only a part of the puzzle, as where the Warlock can resurrect and the Hunter can go invisible and, I don't know, sneak out for a second and take a shot. Like, I don't know, there's easy ways of soloing. But it really is important that you find other people that you can play with, because that's where all of the good endgame stuff is locked behind. I mean, it's possible to solo a lot of this stuff, and some of it is just if you just know the right people. If you just know the right people, and that's part of what I wanted Guardian 1 to be. I wanted just to be a group of people who are looking to play with other people, and there we go. Let's just do it. Let's just get this done with. We'll get our shitty trinkets, and we'll move on with our day. Like.
How do you really feel about them?
But yeah, so I don't know. It's something that I think they did a good job by making the heroic weeklies match made. Yes, it's a bummer, and I wish that when you were able to report someone, there was just a little sign that said "chode." You know what I'm saying? Like, I would just like to mark that person with this name. Like, well, what was this person doing? Well, they were being a chode. Here it is. Like
It
moving
has like
on.
a kick me sign to their back. Like,
Right?
No.
Exactly.
It's you look at their forehead and it shows every sign that you passed out too early at a party.
It's like, or like a dunce cap. Like, we'll put a dunce cap on these people.
They did dunce caps for GTA when you blow up too many cars of other players.
That's funny. But yeah, so I don't know. I'm looking forward to the different ways that they're sloping this floor, and anything that's going to make these two specific strikes go faster is definitely a plus in my book. All right, so unless anyone else has anything to add, Agrios?
Moving on. Next, Bungie takes aim at a Guardian we all hate, the AFKer. It brings back user research lead John Hobson to talk about this. He lets us know that those sitting idle in strikes and PvP have been on their radar for a while now, and they've been investigating solutions. And they've already restricted a small number of toxic players from matchmaking. The restrictions they've put out so far are temporary and only apply to the activities where they were chronically idle. And if it relapses after the end of their restrictions, they will be put on a stronger and eventually potentially a permanent ban for repeating this behavior. I'm going to go ahead and read the how this policy applies to you. It probably doesn't. Do not panic just because you had to put down the controller in a strike last week when the pizza guy showed up just as your fire team reached Valles de Arc. There's, because of course that's exactly what happened. There's no way you will accidentally be flagged under this policy unless you are a truly dedicated idler, someone who has really gone out of their way to repeatedly cheat their teammates. Also, please be sure to use the reporting system to let us know how your teammates are affecting your Destiny experience, both positively and negatively. We will never act on player reports alone, but we use those reports to find areas and individuals where our automated detection systems aren't working correctly. They are an invaluable part of how we tune the live experience of our game. So we've discussed this on the show before, and I know some of us are very active reporters, both good and bad, but I highly recommend everybody start using that. Clearly, they're making good use of our reports.
BelleBunny.
Well, okay, first of all, I think this is awesome. I really appreciate this because it's one of the worst things when you get put into any match-made event and you end up with a person who's not there. But I was just wondering, I'm trying to look over it. Did they specify the way that they're restricting these already, like the people that they are looking at already? Do they have like a system in place that like if you're like, I don't know, idle for X amount of time during certain events that that you're flagged, or is it purely based off of the reports that people put in?
Well, it's definitely not purely based off the reports because they said they only use these to find holes in their system.
Right.
Where their system.
I just really want to know what the system is. It sounds really interesting to me.
Okay, so what it says.
Elaborate. I took it to mean that they would record these people repeatedly doing it for long sessions, like they record their like controller input perhaps, and say this person only input less than this many button pushes, this whole strike, this many times in a row, and then
is it like
that's
an automated system that flags it that goes,
at it, probably.
Hey, look, this person isn't playing. Like, they don't actually like people sitting there watching, right?
I wouldn't say that it flags them or anything like that. I think it's more that these data points are put into, for example, like a spreadsheet or something. They just organize all the data. Well, hey, this gamer tag came up as the least amount of buttons that were pressed during a strike this many times in the past however many months, I guess, or something like that. And we could speculate about that all we want. But the fact is that, they're watching, they're seeing what you're doing.
Right.
So,
Big Brother's watching.
Yeah.
Well,
in a good way.
In Halo, they had a system called heat maps where you could actually go and you could look at the overall areas where you would kill people. You could look at overall areas where they were killing you. Like you could go in and actually study on a map-by-map basis where you do your most killing, where people kill you the most. Like, you could actually actively figure out where to stay away from because you were getting hunted. And I think that that's part of... I mean, it's clearly not exactly that. But, I mean, it was such an amazing little addition to be able to do that. And I think that that's how they're doing this. What they're doing is they're looking at people who aren't making any kills, like... and then maybe over a long enough time. But they say that this week we've restricted a small number of the most toxic players from matchmaking. The restrictions we're putting on their accounts are temporary and apply only to the activities where they were chronically idle. If the affected player keeps up this behavior after the restrictions lapse, we will apply stronger and eventually permanent restrictions on their accounts. That's nuts. That's nuts, and thank God. Because we as players don't have any recourse against these other players who are not helping, who are actively making the game a worse place to be. I hate it when I see somebody who's not moving. Like I know instantly, I feel it in my gut that we're just not going to win, because if all 6 people are playing over there and only 5 are playing over here, I mean, it's possible. I've won some pretty nuts first-person shooter, overwhelming odds, but it's not likely, So for this to be happening is such a great such a great thing. You know what I'd really like to know, additionally, is what they are doing for people who constantly get helpful, friendly, or highly skilled in their reports. You know, like I think it would be cool for them to not only overlord the people who are bad, but also good. You know, maybe I don't know. I can't imagine.
Emblem?
Yeah, an emblem would be really cool. Like that black Vanguard one. Like I want that one so bad. What do you think about this, Jez?
Yeah, it's. I think it's more likely that it'll be more of a warning thing. Hey, it'll warn the dude that's not doing much. It was like, hey, we've noticed you haven't been doing a lot the past so many odd strikes. You're on thin ice or something. Like they'll make it so that you'll know that you're in the bad with this the system. And I mean, you're not gonna have to deal with the people that are actually doing the strikes. Like they probably will just see another AFKer, but over time they're just gonna start to drop off as people stop AFKing or get.
What game was it? What game was it where they put all the cheaters in with other cheaters? Was that Titanfall?
That was Grand Theft Auto.
Was it Grand Theft Auto? Was it both of them?
That, yeah.
Well, yeah. Was Titanfall did the same thing?
Yeah, they did. Yep.
That's
Oh
so
yeah,
funny.
yeah, and they were like, "Yeah, have fun shooting that guy that doesn't die because you won't either."
That's so funny. I like that a lot. That makes me feel good. Some kind of purgatory or something. I don't know. River, did you say your piece on this?
Oh yeah, I'm good.
Alrighty.
Real quick, can I just throw in? I know this is something I kind of emphasized, like with that, but can I just two things? One, it made me really sad today when I saw some people posting saying, "Yay, we finally have a better reporting system," and I was like, "What? It's been there from day one." Like I was like,
Always
"Oh
been
no!" See, this is why I'm so glad it's there now because people know about it and will use it. But I also request, please don't abuse it. Like, you know, if somebody's good, make sure you say that they're good, and if somebody's actually being bad, report them for being bad. But don't troll people, please, because it's just gonna mess it up overall, even for you. You know, if somebody's a good player and they're nice and helpful, and you report them as bad, well, you just kind of possibly screwed yourself out of a good player on your team at some point. You know, so
The only person you're hurting by reporting players incorrectly is wasting Bungie's time and delaying them fixing your quicker.
yeah, you want those other updates that you're always complaining about. Don't waste their time on reporting the wrong people.
Yeah, this is something that I don't try and put a lot of thought into just because, you know, the world is rotten. If the internet has shown us anything, it's that the humans are rotten. so and you know what? I have a feeling that they know that there at Bungie headquarters and are probably taking steps towards that specific thing, like people just handing out, you know, unfriendly or quitting or whatever. You know, like if they look into that and they find out that this was wrong, maybe they'll put a different kind of comment on your account. You know, like liar. You know. So
Exactly. If you downvote everybody who's good, they're going to very clearly see that pattern. They probably have algorithms in their computer program that already weed those people out of the data because they're, you know, they probably have their data on a curve. So it eliminates all the most extreme people at the top and bottom and takes the middle section, and that way they get real data.
Yeah, I could definitely see something like that. So awesome. Well then, why don't you wrap it up, Agrios, and moving on.
Okay, moving on. We have there's the movie of the week. I always like to give them a shout out. The movie of the week this week was a comedy video. It was about a helmet, a special helmet that gave very interesting player feedback. So go give all those videos a watch. Several of them are pretty good.
Awesome.
Also this week we had Inferno Clash made a comeback. And the Guardians of Destiny, including, I think, someone on the podcast. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I have no idea who. I don't know, some girl.
On me.
had a Bungie bounty out on them.
Thank you for that. Thank you for that specification, River.
Oh yeah, had to be clear.
Wasn't me.
It wasn't me. Me either, River. I don't know.
Liar.
Well,
So they went victorious. I believe the ratio was 7 wins to 3 losses during their bounty run, and they only handed out
we
3
had 3
sets.
losses? I thought we had 2.
I might be wrong. I'm quoting Bife's last video report on this.
Did we have 3? I thought it was 2. Maybe I'm wrong. In my head it was 2, so I'm going with 2 because it sounds better.
This is via Bife recap video, so that's why I pulled the 7.
Don't trust Bife. He was like 90% asleep the entire night.
That's what his recap video was about, actually. So
Apparently, I played some Crucible or something.
or something. I shot people, maybe.
Guardian 1 did mount up a team to attempt to challenge Guardians of D. However, we did not manage to Q-sync with them and challenge them. We did, however, manage to have several epic dance parties.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I saw that on Twitter and I was way jealous. And I realized that if I had been able to get my youngest down for a nap, we might have been able to. G1 might have been able to get into the ring with them if one of those Bungie guys was the one who was the hook to the system. So, Belle, do you know who was the actual fire team leader? It was Bife.
Bife was for most of it, and then the last half hour we switched to Mark. And by the way, it was definitely only 2 losses. It's semi-confirmed in chat.
Okay. Good. Yeah, see,
I had a hard time trying to Q-sync, by the way.
What's that?
Said I had a hard time trying to Q-sync.
Yes.
You know what? Maybe Bife doesn't consider every win a win. Like maybe if you only like
If
maybe
it's
if he
not by
doesn't
enough.
right if it's not by enough, he just counts it as a loss. Like well, it
That
might as
last-
well been.
Well,
The
there was
last
one that was
game-
super close.
Craig saved us with like 1 kill the last game so that we didn't lose that one. So maybe Bife didn't count it. Or he fell asleep by the end of it.
At that point, so
He didn't want
Either
to
way,
ask
it
anybody.
was so cool.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And so now you're gonna get one of those sweet emblems too now, huh, Belle? That's sweet.
Huh?
You know what though? I tell you what, right now, I would be super duper jealous. I'm only super jealous right now. I would be super duper jealous if you could actually read the person's name that's on the tag. Because
There's some of them you just can't with some of those emblems. I know. I wish it changed the like name color to match or something.
Well, I mean, you know what I was thinking is just a simple, small drop shadow. I think that would really encompass anything that you came across. If it was a black background, you wouldn't see the drop shadow. You don't need it. If it's on a lighter one, there's the drop shadow hanging out in front of all to see. And then every single one of those would be useful. There was this really sweet hunter one I got in the beginning. It was like this triangle, and it was a white background, and I just can't use it because I don't know. I want. Yeah, I can't see it. It's bothersome to me. This.
I'm
Turn
no
down
name.
your brightness.
I have to turn down. River knows about turning down your brightness because he
I
always
sure
has
do.
it down.
I do. It's whenever we were running the raid in the freaking the moon raid, and my blacks are just so dark on my TV screen. I just keep on running into holes.
Right. So don't you think you should turn your brightness up?
He
Yeah,
does.
in that case.
Oh, okay.
But I always
After he
forget.
falls in the hole.
Yes, exactly. Oh man. Whoops.
We used to
That
have
is-
like a brightness check at the beginning of a raid. Be like,
Mhm.
okay, brightness check.
That's a normal. That's normal now.
I like it. I like it, and I'm looking forward to not having to deal with that in the next raid. Okay, cool. So where does that leave us? Jez, do you?
that
do you
is all wrapped up.
all right, back to Agrios.
Yep, we're all wrapped up there.
That's it.
Awesome.
Cool videos, go watch
That's
them.
the end. That's it. Kaput. We finished the weekly update. There's no more Destiny. Destiny's over. Destiny 2's been canceled. Oh wait.
Spoilers.
Oh wait.
Did you see the Planet Destiny April Fools? It's like Bungie is very confused why people like Destiny.
No, I missed that.
Oh, speaking of, we should probably real quick just touch on the fact that there was kind of a cute Easter egg April Fool's thing that Bungie did on the app. If you went to your Guardian, they did a cool dance with like Technicolored background. It took mine like 20 minutes to finally work, but it was cool. I wish it was in game. I still think it might be a hint that they're gonna add in dance party stuff into the tower, but I'm holding out my hope for that.
Wait, what happened? Because I must have missed it.
Oh, if you went on to, I think you had to be on a computer to do it, but if you went on to the on Bungie.net and you went to your Guardian's screen, they would start doing their dance that they would do like in the game,
cool.
and then the background was like flashing with different colors and stuff. It was kind of cute.
Yeah.
I know. Was there music? There wasn't music, was there? Because I really wanted there to be music.
Well, there is now. River just
There is now. Every time I clicked on it, I needed you there.
Shout out to Homestar Runner, because that's where I got that from.
Oh yeah.
Copyright issues.
Love me some
Yeah,
Homestar.
just a little. It was less than 3 seconds. We're good.
All right, cool. Well, then there was a couple things I wanted to get to before the show ends. One of them being some feedback. So on the last video, we got a comment from Duke Skywatcher who says there are three
Awesome
vaults.
name.
Right. There are 3 vaults in the tower. Just make one weapons, one armor, and the other miscellaneous. Don't give us 3 of the same vault right next to each other. And when I think about this, and I think about, yeah, this is a great idea, and it's helped by you don't have to wait for somebody else to get off of the ATM to use it. You know, like you can just walk up behind them, and I think this is rude.
ATM.
When people do this to me, I'm creeped out. Like, what are you doing looking at my stuff? But I realize that they're not looking at my stuff. But I think this is a pretty good idea. What do you think about this, River?
So what he's saying is different terminals will have a different vault.
Yeah, like imagine this, the vault as they are right now, with all of the spaces that you have available. But one of them is full of just weapons, one is full of just armor, and one is full of just miscellaneous.
I kind of like the idea. However, what I don't like is having to exit a vault, go to another vault, so I can get
That's
to
true.
different stuff. I kind of like how it's condensed down to just one screen. So
Yeah.
it has strengths and weaknesses. It is something to consider, I think. So yeah, why not?
I like
Plus
it.
also, you'd also have the issue with the app. That would I think you would cause a lot more potential issues if you have 3 different places that it has to grab things from or put things into rather than all one shared.
Well, I
vault
mean,
space.
it could still be the way it is on the app. Because in the app, it is you just scroll past that section. Like all of the armor is there, and then all of the weapons are there, and then
Right, but it has to send it to a different. It's still gonna have to split it when it gets to the game. You know what I mean? Like the app would be fine, but as soon as the app is connecting to the game, you're adding in 3 different potential like endpoints for that item to be sent to instead of just one giant pot. If that makes sense. I'm just pulling out. I don't know anything about like game development as far as how much that would take. I just could see it being more difficult, but if they could work through it, it could be a potential way to fix things or help things with space. But I don't know.
What do you think, Jez?
So I'll tell you where this entire idea doesn't go right at all. The reason why there's so much, there's a certain amount of vault space is not due to like visual area on your vault. It's to do with the server load. It's not going to affect the server. It's not going to fix the server load, but making you go in game to a different location.
And it's not just the server load, it's the working memory available on the PS3 with everything else they already have going on working in the tower simultaneously, and the item comparison buttons and all those sorts of things.
So you're actually just adding a little bit more overhead by saying, which vault am I opening?
Right, that's more UI interface that has to be programmed into the PS3.
The PlayStation 3. Where'd that come from?
Well, that
that's
was
the one.
Or the
It's
Xbox
the-
360, the last gen,
Yeah.
is where the memory cap is giving them the problem. That's why, in order to initiate the vault space they're already doing, they had to disable the item comparison feature on the last gen.
and
Right.
PS3 had a little bit less memory because it was locked to the system or something. Like, they had the same amount of memory, like the 360 and the PS3, but the PS3 had more memory locked to the system than the 360.
Crazy.
So ultimately, that's what's limiting everything.
That's what limited Skyrim.
I
Do you
didn't know
think if
Skyrim
they-
had a limit.
Yeah, I was
Oh, you start playing that for a while, and then eventually you'll have 20-minute load times.
well, it's true. It does take. I mean, it definitely had way more space compared to.
It's because they're
Destiny,
tracking, like Skyrim is tracking every little thing. Is it
Right.
slightly out of context? Yes, move it.
I was gonna say, do you guys think then if they do or when? Because I mean, obviously it's a when eventually. At some point, one of these Destinies, they're not gonna have the last gen anymore. But
Too.
I hope it's the next one.
I'm just saying, I don't even want to get into it because some people are not happy with that, and I understand it. But whenever it happens, do you guys think then that will change? Will they give us giant vault space? Will they give us multiple vaults? Or is part of it also maybe they want to give us what we want, but at the same time, like we talked about before when I was on here, that it also adds something to the game. You do have to be a little bit more about what you choose to play with, what you choose to keep or not. And, does that add to it or does that take away from the game? I don't know. But, what do you guys think? Will they change that eventually when it's not an issue because of the last gen consoles?
I think the most logical thing that they could do is have a limit on vault space at the start, and then every expansion add to that so that you can keep collecting.
Right.
So you don't run into, I can only hold one from this expansion because I only got one slot left, but that means next expansion I can't put anything in there. Right. They should be raising the limit each expansion if they want to keep with that limit.
Yeah,
I mean, it really depends. It really depends on what their vision for the game is, and in addition, you pushing that together with what the people who actually play the game want this to be. Like, if everybody that plays the game, who actively every single day plays the game, says, "I want to collect every single spaceship," and this is something that I want to do. I want to go to the shipwright. I want to purchase a ship that I don't have, not because I like it specifically, but because I don't have it. I want to collect the spaceships. I think that's such a cool thing to do. It would compel me to play the game. Now, depending on, like you guys were saying, they're going to have to upgrade the space every time they drop new content, because otherwise you're not going to have space for it. But if what they don't want is people collecting all of the spaceships, then then we're not going to see as magnificent of a change as I want to see. Because really, I want to save so much of it. There's so many weapons that I pick up that I just don't have space for, and I have to move on. And that makes me sad.
Also, if they ever, since there's been some talk about the idea of, not making past weapons and past armor, quote unquote, pointless to keep after new DLCs come out, you're going to want to keep more of what you had in the past. I know people, like myself, I deleted some of my vault gear before, but if at some point I can actually still use that at higher levels, I'm going to want to have a space for it too, so it's not just as they add new items, it's as items continue to stay prominent, I guess, would also be an issue.
Well, they kind of went with a whole, you'll want to collect this gear, but if you can't collect it, then there's a problem with the message.
Right.
There it is.
You'll want this gun. You'll want to be able to show off this gun, but you can't fit in your bank, so delete it.
Yeah.
Right.
I think for now, I think it's okay to make people, not that they're necessarily intentionally doing it, but to make people have to choose, because obviously we also need to, sorry, had a cough. We also need to still accommodate those who
Moving on.
Sorry. those who are playing on the last gen consoles, because they are still part of this game, and so I would love to have more vault space. It's not a huge issue to me right now because I could throw it on my other characters, but I get that people want it, but at the same time, I think we do have to remember the people who are playing on last gen still count, and they can't really do anything about it. So don't get so mad at Bungie either, because they are giving some. But and that's
Well,
cool.
if they keep on this perspective, this timeline that people like still take into account, even though it's most likely fake, and have 2 expansions to come at 2 expansions in the next game, you're still looking at like 3 years after the launch of PlayStation, like the PlayStation 4. That's a long time to hold out.
Yeah, that's true.
And I think what needs to happen more too is they need to let the next gen break away some. I think if they give next gen extra vault space, I don't see that as an actual slight to last gen. I mean, you're on last gen. You just have to understand your system's got smaller memory. You don't have as much room for stuff. So I just think they need to let that break away a little more and just let the next gen have extra things. Not content, but your vault's bigger. You have a newer system with more memory. It's just the way it is.
Now, you can't do that though, because
Why?
the character transfers back and forth already. So you'd have to break
because
that.
of the back and forth. Yeah.
Plus,
So
that would just cause so many
like
more
item-
problems.
Right.
I mean, think about the number of people who, I was one of them, and we still have one in here, who might be a tiny bit salty about some of the exclusives that PS4 gets, or that we Xbox players don't get. And now if you made it going, oh, well, you spent $400 to buy a new system, and I couldn't afford that, so you get to collect everything? Like, I wouldn't be okay with that if I was on 360 still. I'd be like, heck no. Like,
I'm on the side. I'm okay with that. I paid $400 more. There's a reason you paid $400 more. It's to get more better stuff.
right, but not in a particular game. You paid for the system to function the way that it does, but if a game has decided to be on all 4 consoles, I mean, I think as a gamer, you have to be aware that means you may have to give up some stuff in order to play that game so that other people can also play it. You know what I mean? Like, you still get way more out of your console than the PS3 player gets.
I'm just talking like storage spacey type issues. I don't think that they should ever provide, if it's the same game, I don't think they should ever provide like actual like playable content to one and not the other. That's not real cool. Although that actually happens all the time with next gen and last gen games.
So
but that's what you're kind of talking about, because you'd be able to play with weapons that somebody else would have to delete. Like, I know it's kind of a stretch what I'm saying, but technically it still would be, you get some kind of exclusive content because you can have X number of weapons, and your PS3 friend can't because...
I can see that point, but I would call that incentive to upgrade and whatnot.
So, Belle, this is super hyperbole, but did you ever play Tony Hawk Pro Skater?
Probably, like, at some point in my life, yes, I know I've picked it up.
Did you ever play Tony Hawk Pro Skater for the Game Boy Advance?
I had a Game Boy Advance, but I don't think I had that for it. I was a Pokemon and Donkey Kong player.
What I'm getting at is it's a super different game because there's such a limitation on a handheld hardware, of course, that they could not make Tony Hawk for it. So it's like this top-down game, so they had to basically make an entirely different game. And you can't really say, oh, well, I have a Game Boy Advance and it's Tony Hawk, so why aren't I playing Tony Hawk like everyone else?
Right.
Well, what's
but
the
they
comparable
made a separate
console?
game for it okay, they had the other one first, correct?
Well, they usually did like a simultaneous release for both, for everything.
Right, but it was not, you had the knowledge that it was separate to begin with, and you chose to buy a Game Boy Advance versus buying a console. That's completely different than having 2 different consoles and a new, like, you bought a PS3, a new console comes out, a game comes out that's on all 4 platforms, and then all of a sudden they go, oh, we're gonna give more vault space to these people because they can fit it.
But are we
Do you see what I
talking
mean?
about?
Like,
Are we talking about Destiny 1 breaking off from them or Destiny 2? Because I would consider Destiny 2 a completely different game.
Right, but we're talking about Destiny 2 probably isn't going to have them at all. Were you guys saying that when Destiny 2 comes out, that then they should increase vault space for the people who have next gen, but not deal with it for the people who have last gen from Destiny 1?
I was saying for all future new updates being provided to the game, they need to break away.
Like updates as in like weekly
Expansions?
updates? Or do you mean like when House of Wolves comes out, you would want them to give PS4 and Xbox One additional space that PS3 and Xbox 360 wouldn't get?
Yeah, to a degree. I mean, you have two different systems, right? Like when the next gen comes out, I think the updates going forth, like even beyond just the before Destiny 2 is even released, I think that they should allow, like just like they did by disabling the compare item feature on last gen, in order to provide more vault space for everybody. That's something they've taken away.
I'd be upset about that too.
Away from the gameplay experience.
But
I think comparing your weapons and your gear is non-comparable to extra vault space.
I think you can still do it when it's just comparing items in your vault, right? Or is it comparing at all?
No, it's just
comparing items in your vault.
You can no longer
that's
compare
fine.
items outside the
I thought it
vault
was
on
overall.
So you could still
that would suck.
put it in your inventory and be like, okay, this one's better.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. No. Okay. Because I thought it was completely gone, and I was like, that would seriously suck, especially since they added that. Like.
But I'm saying that's a very small sacrifice to have extra vault space.
Hey,
and
but
depends on the
what you're
person,
saying,
doesn't it?
Agrios, is that, you know, these next gen guys should get more, should get even more, should be even more compared to these guys who just maybe can't afford a next gen console.
No, what
Right,
I'm
that's
saying
what I'm-
is I don't think that you should hold back a gigantic percentage of the player base from getting things they could have just because the last gen can't have it no matter what.
But they want to
I'm
give a
not talking
seamless
about,
experience
full play
between all
experience.
consoles.
I'm talking about like vault space. So yeah, you would have to delete more weapons, like Bell said. Like there is that sort of limitation. But I kind of think like it's I'm not saying they should get it because they're better on the next gen. It's just more or less why should they be held back when they could easily have this? Just it's the system limiting it.
You want my answer? Because originally Bungie was making this game for PS3, not
Correct.
for PS4, and then PS4 came out. So to me, the last gen is either more important or just as important, since they're the ones that were around and got Bungie to where they are. By the way, but I mean, I get your point. You spent more money. You purchased this new thing because part of it was because it can hold more stuff, and you want to be able to use that in this game. But this game was not created for next gen only to have that particular experience. It was created for all gamers to have the same experience. And so
I can see that point.
So when I would fully agree, Destiny 2 comes out, I'm 99% sure they're going to drop last gen. I can fully support that. I feel bad about it. I really wish there was a way I could fork out money to everybody to buy new consoles, because I'm super lucky with the help I've received. That's amazing. And it would suck if I didn't have that. But, like, you know, it is for the better of the game itself at that point, you know. And yeah, they're going to have a drop off on players, and that's going to suck. But I think until then, I think that Bungie owes it to all of the players that they originally made this game for, which is everybody, to have the same experience as much as possible. And I think that there are ways to work around being able to create more vault space somewhere. I believe in them, if it's needed to continue adding in new exotics and such as DLCs come out. But I don't know. I just think that I think there would be a huge issue if they said, oh, yeah, you guys bought this game thinking you'd have the same experience, but now you're not. Like, I get that it sucks for the people who spent extra money, but I don't think that it would be fair across the board.
Personally, the way it is I just don't feel that something I guess it's the matter of opinion as far as the vault space goes. I guess it's where you draw your line, so to speak. Like, some people say that item comparison, losing that feature in the vault and that them not lining up anymore, that's not a big deal, but not having as many vault spaces is a big deal. And I could see that. To me, even if I were restricted to last gen, I don't think I would be in any way offended by next gen getting more spaces in their vault. I just understand my system doesn't have as much memory. I feel like that's probably something they could easily just flip a switch. Now, I understand that it doesn't work for more reasons than not. Like Jez mentioned, that fact that your characters transfer back and forth will prevent this from working out correctly either way. But on the topic of principle on this matter, so to speak, I guess I just feel like that's something that could easily be implemented by them just literally like flipping a switch and adding, an extra, row or an extra page of these icons on next gen. And they're just not doing it, and a huge percentage of their players are losing out on it just because they're scared that last gen will be offended. And I just don't
but
really
last gen's a huge percentage as well.
Okay,
they do make up a huge percent as well, and I don't know. I guess I just feel like, just real quick, when I purchased this game for Xbox, when I got an Xbox One and I bought this game, I had the knowledge prior that PlayStation was going to get exclusives I wasn't going to get, and I still made the choice to purchase the game for Xbox One, right?
Yeah.
But if I had bought it for 360, I was under the thought that everything I receive as far as between me and Xbox One would be the same. You know what I mean? And you're talking about them suddenly changing that. You purchased this game, and now you're changing what you're actually receiving compared to what somebody that's technically on. It's the same console, it's an upgrade, but it's not.
Okay.
I don't know.
So this this topic kind of got away with itself.
Sorry.
But you know what? So I agree with what you're saying, Belle, but I also agree with what Agrios is saying in that this could have been this was a self-decided decision. It was they could have said last gen is going to get everything that the next gen is going to get, but this other super sweet thing. It could have been anything. They made the rules. They made these rules where PlayStation was getting something more than Xbox was. They could have additionally said, and I would have been down for, like, as an Xbox 360 owner, I definitely would have thought to myself, oh, well, of course the Xbox One is going to get better everything. It's got better graphics. It's got better sound.
Time, right?
Yes, exactly. Like if they
but
had
in the middle, no.
Yeah. I mean, I don't understand why they made that choice, but they did it themselves, so they could have gone back the other way. But we're rapidly running out of time. Already 14 minutes over. I have more comments to read, but I wanted to get to these two things. River, you tweeted out like an hour and a half before the show. You tweeted, "I think I'm burned out on Destiny. Sorry, everyone. I want to focus on other games." And this is something that I've been struggling with recently as well. Like, I want to play other games too, but I haven't found anything.
Wait.
Don't say anything, Belle. Don't say anything.
Oh, crap, I'm sorry.
Yes, it was an April Fool's joke.
That was yesterday, brother. Not an hour and a half before the show.
Why does it say
commented on
April
it an hour
2nd?
and a half ago. I commented on it, and he liked it an hour and a half ago. But that was
Totally an April Fool's joke.
Oh,
I'm
man,
sorry, I didn't mean
this
to
is
ruin
hilarious.
it, River.
I wanted him to say his piece
fooled.
first.
I'm so sorry. Ignore that. I'm lying. April Fools. He really doesn't like the game anymore.
Well, so this is something that I've even seen other people get to, like Agrios.
Oh, yeah.
Agrios is playing actively right now Grand Theft Auto 5. Like, he's not even in the call anymore. he's over there stealing cars. But so seriously, though, is there any truth to this? Are you interested in playing other games? I mean, you were a gamer before Destiny came out, and that's where I was going with this. And that's funny that I can't believe that I didn't see the date on the actual tweet. And I don't know,
Or the
April
winky
Fool's
face,
sucks.
obviously.
Well, I thought that you were just trying to be friendly, like.
So friendly.
But is there anything
I hate
else
this
that you're
game,
playing? Because Crimson Warlock has basically not logged into Destiny in like weeks because he's been playing, was it Dragon Ball Xenoverse? Is there anything else that you're playing right now?
Oh, yeah, man. I mean, I got DMC, Devil May Cry, going on right now, and I thought about trying to squeeze in some Halo maybe, but I mean, I'm always going to come back to Destiny. I'm not going to stop Destiny. What are you talking about?
Yeah,
You should
definitely.
play some Bloodborne.
Yeah, I'll get right on that, Jess.
So I've been at this point where I've not wanted to just grind. I haven't wanted to just do bounties, but I haven't found anything that's really caught my attention. Like I bought that Helldivers, and that's kind of cool in a way that if you've ever played an RTS or like a board game like Warhammer 40K, like
Wait, that's what you equate it to?
Yeah.
I think more like Contra.
Well, no, actually, if we're gonna do it like that, then it goes to like what is that? Ikari Warriors is a better analog because of the top down. But I can see where you're going with that. But just the way everything plays out, like in some kind of slower time, like you have to choose to dive, and when you choose to dive, you can't fire. Like there's many rules that go into it. You have to choose whether you're going to run for cover or shoot at somebody. You don't really get to do both. And I just couldn't get into that, and I bought that tennis in the face. That was cool, but it's kind of like Angry Birds. Like it feels like I can play it for 20 minutes and be really happy but move on. But I've actually been playing
Wait,
Neverwinter.
You can play Angry Birds for 20 minutes and turn it off? What? What? What kind of power do you have to do that?
You know what? It's because they don't put the grimoire in the game either. I'm just like
Angry Birds grimoire.
but I've been playing Neverwinter since it released for free on the Xbox One, and it is awesome. It is awesome. If you're at all interested in like a Diablo style game, massively multiplayer online role playing game, find me and we will play it together.
Actually downloaded it too.
An Xbox One.
Right. It's fun, and it's got so much depth to it. And you know what else? And this is something that really, really pisses me off. It's that whenever I pick up a piece of lore in that Neverwinter, I can just hit that weird little box button. It used to be called Select. And then hit the A button, and I can read more about it just right then and there. And then I can put that into my brain and think about how awesome this game is, instead of seeing, oh, you got some more lore, why don't you go log on to the computer? Like it breaks it. It breaks the whole thing for me, and this Neverwinter just gives it to you. Here is this little shred of information, and then I get to intake that. Like this is an absolute horror in Destiny. Like it bothers me so bad.
I seriously thought you said horror.
Yes.
Close.
I was really concerned.
Close. Beat that dead horse.
I really don't like some games.
Wait, are we talking about Grand Theft Auto?
Oh no.
See, he's stealing cars right now. He heard horror and he came back to the conversation. Wait a second, guys.
That's just bad.
This is my specialty.
So yeah, some games that I really don't like is still have like in-game audio things, and you pick it up and it's like, okay, now go to the menu and listen to it, and you can't do anything but listen to it. That annoys me too.
Yeah, I could definitely see that.
Should be more Bioshock, right?
Yeah, it should be like,
Man, what a great
hold
example.
Square to start listening.
What a great example, River. I loved BioShock. What a great game. So what are you playing right now, Jez?
Bloodborne, Borderlands, D&D. That's about it.
That's awesome. I'm jealous of your D&D playtime because it looks really great. It looks like a lot of fun. Oh, and I got to see you for the first time. I had never seen your face until I watched that Dato's broadcast.
It's funny because back when we were doing Beards for Destiny or whatever, back when, we were like, hey, maybe they'll actually have beards in the game. But I did do a picture way back then.
That's awesome.
So if you want to spend like 20 minutes scrolling through all my tweets, have at it.
I thought you were going to
say... I put a beard on my daughter and took a picture and put hashtag beards till destiny.
That's pretty cute. That's pretty cute. What are you playing, Bill?
Destiny.
Is that it? You're actually just There is no other
I have
game in your
so
life?
many games that I have downloaded, like all of the like monthly free things or whatever from both consoles that I really want to check out, and I want to check out that. Is it Ori? Right?
Yeah,
Ori and the
I
Blind
Silent
really,
Forest.
really want to try that. I just like
Play
the
Child
little
of Light.
that one too. That's on my list as well. I have a ton of them I want to try. It's just every time I go to do them, I'm like, first of all, I go, no matter how good the game is, I'm like, I should really go do this thing in Destiny. I still need to do the weekly. I still need to, like, and then I'm like, okay, I don't have time to play Destiny as it is half the time, so then I almost feel like guilty
totally.
playing other ones. But I need to. I really do, because I also do think it'll be a good, because I do find days where I get slightly frustrated with like Destiny. I think everybody has those days.
Definitely.
You know, that's the same with any game. And so I do think I need to start occasionally letting myself go play something else as just kind of a, instead of completely walking away from gaming for a day, just go, hey, I'm going to go enjoy something else. And then when I come back, be like, oh my gosh, this is what I walked away from for a while. This is cool. You know, the same with like the content gap. I think it's going to be the same way when new stuff comes out. It's going to be like, awesome, you know?
Yeah. Okay, so here's the key. The key to not feeling guilty about it, about playing something that's not Destiny, is it has to be good. You have to honestly want to play it more than you have to want to play Destiny right at that moment. Because that's where I was with Helldivers. That's where I was with Tennis in the Face. While I was playing it, I was actively thinking, you know what? I really should be doing my bounties. I really should be going and punching 30 things without dying. Like, I just need to do it. I just need to do it and level up gear and armor and hoard things. But as soon as this Neverwinter came out, like, I didn't feel guilty about it. I think there was a whole 24 hours where I did not play Destiny, and I didn't even look back. I didn't even blink an eye. I was happy to be playing this Neverwinter, and I'm so excited for all of the Neverwinter I'm going to be playing, because it's awesome. So yeah, so look for a game that you don't feel guilty that you're not playing Destiny and you're doing the right one. So,
that's a good way to think of it. I like that.
You, Agrios, you are playing Grand Theft Auto 5. Are you playing anything else?
No, that's really it right now. I tend to concentrate on one or two things at a time and play them till they're beaten deep into the ground and then move on.
I like it.
Moving on.
I like
Back to Destiny.
Right? I can't imagine myself never playing Destiny again. Like after just a couple of hours, I feel like, man, I'd really like to move around in a Guardian. I'd really like to aim down the sights of a gun. Like, there's so much good to be had in Destiny. And I am thoroughly committed to it. But they've made it very clear that the way they have their game outlined is that they don't want to give you too much. They want to make it accessible for everyone. And I think that this is amazing, because right at the point where I'm going to be 32 on all of my characters will be right around the corner from when House of Wolves drops. And I have not at all been trying to push for Crota. Like, I have not at all been trying to get 32. Like, it's something that you only need to be if you're trying to do Crota on hard mode, and I've pretty much had to cut a majority of raiding out of my diet in the last couple of weeks. So because I still play a little bit on the Xbox, and because I still have Agrios and Sharks to help me out on the PlayStation, I've done just enough to where I'm going to be 32 right as that other stuff shows up. And so I'm curious. I want to talk next week about how we think that this is going to be attained. We've talked about some of the things previously, but some more information has come to light, and so I'm looking forward to talking about that next week. But I wanted to end the show on this thing that BelleBunny posted earlier. Do you have this in front of you, Belle? Would you like to read it?
Oh, you want me to read it?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
I think the people that are listening want to hear you read this. They don't want to hear me read it.
Okay. This is basically just a quick background. It was a response because there was an article that came out about some research stuff that Bungie had done with their players during testing or whatever, and the term psychological was mentioned, and people were like freaking out about it and blowing up about it. Anyway, basically the comments in it turned into a lot of negative stuff about the game, and I've heard a lot of people saying that Bungie doesn't listen, and this was just kind of this is my wrap up of my say on it for now. But yes, Destiny has some issues. Yes, there are things that happen or don't happen or are missing that upset or frustrate me. Yes, maybe it should have had some of those things fixed ahead of time or not advertised the way that it was. But name me any other company that spends as much time as this one does openly admitting to the needed changes, taking feedback, and actually applying ongoing updates while staying positive and determined with so many turning on them. You may think they don't listen, but all that tells me is that you're the one who's not actually paying attention. And remember, change and growth take time, especially for epicness. And just as a disclaimer, I'm not saying other companies don't do this. I just feel that Bungie deserves a big shout out for the level to which they are doing it. So
Right, I saw this and I wanted to make sure that we talked about this because it's it's so accurate, and I think that what the key here is and how they are different from other studios, because you're right, other studios do this. I think that the difference is how they approach us. Like I have never felt as close to a gaming company, an entity that makes games, as I have with Bungie. The way they do their weekly updates, and just the way they address the community, the way they address people who are not part of within their city walls. I think that's what it comes down to. And I don't even know how you do that, because there have been other companies that do address they do address the community, like the people who made Borderlands. There was a while there where I was really engaged with what they were doing, but they were giving out golden keys. Like, this was the reason that I was keeping up with what they were doing. And for some reason, Bungie draws me in, and I feel like they are addressing me. I feel like they're addressing what I want to hear. And you're right, they don't shy away from saying when they've taken a wrong step or how they address what has gone wrong. And I think that's really awesome. River, do you have anything to add to this?
Not really. I mean, Bill pretty much said it all. I've said that before, right? She's kind of like me.
Totally.
Yeah, we're totally on the same wavelength on this one.
I'm River.
It's so weird, don't? Yeah. But I do appreciate that they constantly are constantly working on this, and they have 500 employees, but not all of them are computer programmers. Not all of them are
What? Deej totally is. He's the sandbox guy. Remember,
I'm just saying, it's like you got marketing, you got artists, you got all these other people. So it's not like all 500 are working on these updates for you.
But so many of them
week.
reply to them. So many people that don't need to do take the time to personally reply to issues that aren't even in their department. They do try to help. They do pass it on. I mean, even I know Deej is community manager, but if you look at his personal Twitter, the number of things, if you just go on there just one day and you see the number of people he actually personally responds to, even about issues he's answered 1,000,000 times before publicly, he still does it. That's pretty cool. And the whole company feels that way. They actually care. It's not just, I don't get the feeling they just want to make money. And I do get that feeling from a lot of companies. And I feel like they care what the gamers think. And it's not just because they want you to be happy to spend more money. It's because they want you to enjoy their game that they spent how long creating and continue to spend how long creating.
And you see all these other employees online too who personally, they're not community managers. They don't know the first thing about that kind of stuff, but they'll respond to people. And that's awesome.
Yeah. I agree wholeheartedly. Agrios? He's stealing cars.
5
Dealing
stars.
with those horse.
Oh, the curse of the mute button. There. You can check my account. I'm waiting to take people patiently into the Gorgon chest if they need to, actually. So
that's awesome. You kick ass.
What am I responding to now? I forgot.
That thing that BelleBunny had posted.
Oh, right. No, yeah, absolutely. I'm a huge fan of the way they interact with everybody. I mean, I've actually had an issue or two where I had to try to contact a gaming company before in the past, and most of the ones I've tried to have interaction with whatsoever, I've been sorely disappointed by their responses. So for someone to go above and beyond, not just lending a helping hand or a word of advice, and like directly speaking to the community and on multiple formats, not just on their website, asking for our feedback and help to resolve issues. I find that's just awesome. And like we've said before here, like we only hate on it so much because we love it so much. Like we only spend this much time talking about the things we don't like because of how much we love about it and them.
Yes.
Right? If we didn't care, this podcast wouldn't be here. You know? So yeah, good deal. Well, anybody else have anything they want to add before we leave?
There was one bit of news that I meant to bring up right after we talked about the April Fool's dancing there, and we moved on, and I forgot to bring up. We do have the lead gameplay designer Josh Hamrick leaving for Bethesda. That's a pretty important bit of news.
Mm-hmm. Pretty sad to see him go.
Super sad. I I met him at the opening or at the release party at Bungie, and he was a really cool guy. I met him and also was it John Wesanowski, who's also in that realm. Seriously cool people, and it makes me wonder how it rolls out. Like he was doing a very important job at this company. And so how do you just hand that off to somebody else? How do you hand it off to somebody else? And at the same time, this is crazy because now we're going to have a new gunsmith. Now we'll have somebody else who will be making these weapons, and I bet they're going to feel different. Not only because, statistically they can check and make sure that this isn't like any other weapon, but I don't know.
Well, I mean, you do have, yes, he's a very experienced person, and yes, he was the lead for that, but at the same time he has a great team. I mean, I don't personally know them, but I guarantee you he did not single-handedly do all of this, and I guarantee you they're all on so much of the same page. I mean, they've been working on this for how long? They've got it down. Not that they don't need him, not that he wasn't extremely important and helpful, but I believe that team is going to do it, and I actually don't feel like we're going to have that much of a noticeable change, hopefully. I hope they prove me right. I believe.
Well, I think you get me wrong here. I could walk in and do his job right this second. Not because I'm not because I'm qualified.
Bungie, you hear that?
Not because I'm qualified necessarily, but because I would make it happen. Because I would just go.
I'm gonna walk in and be like, "Dang it, I'm doing this. You're listening to me. I don't know what I'm saying, but you're gonna do it."
Remy's gonna walk into Bungie and slap down a resume and say, "I'm your next lead designer."
Right. And they're either gonna throw me out or they're gonna hire me.
50-50 chance, right?
But yeah, I don't know. It's definitely something that another person could do, but I don't know. It feels like the bass player of a band is leaving. Like when Tool picked up Justin Chancellor, things changed. Like things change when you have a different group of people. I bet that Pistols are going to take a nosedive now after because Pistols were like his baby, and there was often talk about how he was never going to nerf the Pistols. So yes. Anybody else on Josh Hamrick? Moving on.
I can't wait to see what he does with whatever Bethesda's doing because I want to play whatever Bethesda's doing.
That's true.
Gonna be interesting.
I love Bethesda, so I'm happy he's at least going somewhere that I have good feelings for.
Think of it like physics. Energy never goes away. It's always just redistributed.
Right? Yeah, so
Good luck, Josh.
I'm excited to see where what he does and where he goes. And he's actually joined a long line of people I follow on Twitter who have moved from Bungie onto other things that I enjoy following because they were interesting people. They've moved on. But I'm still interested in hearing what they have to say. Like, what are they doing? Like that Keikai Kotaki, he's one of the concept artists. He's always posting these really bitchin' pictures of like knights and demons and things that he just doodles. Like, that's cool. It's really cool. So yeah, very excited for what you got in the store. But now we're at the end of the show. Shout outs, starting with Belle.
Shout out to my awesome team from last night. You guys kicked but including the Bungie guys. You guys were great. It was a huge honor. And then also, I think I'm technically allowed to say this because technically it was said on the Bungie bounty, but shout out to my Xbox One dames who got asked to be next week's Bungie bounty. So keep an eye out for that.
That's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, Deej kind of like snuck it in there. So I think technically I'm allowed to say it.
I knew what it was from when you said you tweeted out that you were super excited for next week.
For next week.
Yeah, I figured that's what it was, but I didn't want to draw attention to it.
Well, it's like when I said tomorrow is going to be awesome, and people are like, "What? Why?" And then it's like, "Boom, Bungie bounty."
Awesome, Agrios.
I want to give a shout out to Artistic 33, Pitbull Mass, Fallen, Jay Zeeper of the clan Bloodwood Brotherhood, and Safe Gamers, who we had our impromptu dance parties while trying to Q-sync with the Guardians of D last night.
That's cool.
Safe gamers.
Just real quick, how did that even go down? Like was it you guys play a game and then realize let's just wait this out, or did you all start dancing, or did you recognize the way? How did it?
Well, we were trying to Q-sync. Jez was there too. We were trying to Q-sync. We formed a hunting party for the Guardians of D, and we were trying to make our best guess as to when they were going in orbit. And apparently, and we also knew that Bife was the leader, so we had N7 Strider on the same server set as him as our leader.
Super awesome.
So the Safe Gamers and the Blood Wolf Brotherhood had the same idea. And after we ended up, instead of Q-syncing with Guardians of D, Q-syncing with them 3 times in a row, and we Q-synced up and we were like, oh, we're up against them again. We're like, when we get there, we're just all going to dance. And then they can come over and find us dancing.
So
they shoot us, whatever. We're just going to dance. So we load in and we all hit the dance button. And we see, our dancing things scroll up. Well, at the exact same time, all of their dancing things scroll up too. So they had the exact same idea simultaneously.
That's amazing.
So then we just rush there into the field. And as they see us coming, they all stop dancing and turn and look. And we all get up close to them and we just start dancing too. And then they start dancing back. And we just had a big dance thing.
So please tell me, does anybody have it recorded by any chance?
I'm pretty sure we have it recorded. I'm not certain. I
send that in for the movie of the week. Seriously, put a little explanation, send it in, because that is so cool. I love that.
All right. Oh, look, I'm pretty sure I hit the record, but I'm not 100% certain. I think Shark might have too, so I took a bunch of snapshots. I don't know.
I've had it funny. A couple games later, we were like, oh, it's them again. We start dancing again.
Heard again. There was a second dance party after the first one. We Q-synced with them again for an additional dance party, yes.
I got tweeted so many dancing pictures last night. I was like, what? What's going on here?
That's funny. Yeah, I saw that and it was, I don't know, what a cool little interaction. And then I saw after you tweeted out Agrios, so it had to have been somebody from one of those groups you were talking about, because I don't think I was following them and I didn't recognize their name from Twitter, but they posted that they were all scared that somebody was going to do their super, like somebody from your team was going to super, and for them to hold out.
Now.
Oh, is he? Yeah.
Jay Zeeper is in our chat right now. JZ3AP3JZ. He's the one who made that comment.
Okay, yeah. So, but to think that you guys all continued to not do your super, and they continued to not do your super. This is like when you hear stories about like battle torn areas, like right at the war, where it would be like a holiday, and they would stop fighting and they would hang out with each other.
Let's share candy.
Right.
The British
Silent Night.
They stopped and played football. Actually,
right. So this is, I don't know. It gave me goosebumps thinking about how this played out like that. Like what a cool little memory that you will always have from Destiny. Moving forward. Like I think this is one of those things that Bungie was talking about specifically without talking about it specifically. Like I'm certain they weren't talking about meeting up with the same group of people and dancing instead of playing Crucible in the Crucible, but
only in Destiny,
right? So yeah, super cool. I think cool.
Both times we stayed like 4 minutes in, and then they left. So it's like Mark of the Wolf. It's like, but we got no kills.
That's funny. That's funny. Jez.
Well, since he stole what I was gonna say, although I kind of figured he would anyways. Shout out to math class. Good luck finding out who they are.
I think that if you have any connection to Twitter, it's pretty
Yeah.
simple.
Yeah, or if you watch Dado.
Yeah. I would like to know the story behind that name. Do you know the story behind that name?
Well, Watts had nicknamed his raid group that, and previously, actually, he had used it for his Halo team, I think. And it has something to do with, like, he kind of made it off of Team Math from Luke a long time ago. So he came up with math class, and then it kind of stuck later on.
I like it. I like it a lot. Good game, math class. River.
1 second. Babe. Babe.
He's stealing
I want
cars
to say
too now.
thank you to my wife. She's the greatest woman that I've ever known. I love you very much, babe. She's the
shout out to
kindest
her.
and the hardest working person I have ever known. And I'm a lucky man to call her my wife.
Oh. I like it a lot.
I love you, babe.
Extra love to Mrs. River.
I know. I'm your nerd, though.
Oh.
What do you got?
Excellent shout out. My shout out is to Leonard Nimoy and all of those who are friends and family and all of those who loved Leonard Nimoy. I was actually going to shout out to him the day before he died. It was our show, and I was going to shout out to him, but I didn't want to jinx it. Like, he had just entered the hospital, and I don't know, like, it's Star Trek has always been a big deal to me and my family, and it was sad to see him go. But if you also were sad to see him go, his son Adam is making a movie about him, about Leonard Nimoy, and I guess that Leonard Nimoy was really fond of telling stories, so there's a lot of information to go around. So, live long and prosper, I guess, doesn't really fit into this, because that's sad. But he did live long and he did prosper. So I don't know. That's my shout out. And with that is the end of episode 34. I would like to thank everyone listening for tuning in. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you have any questions or suggestions for topics to be discussed on the show, please leave them in the comments below or send them back to feedback@guardian1.net, and we will see you next week.
Thanks, Belle.